While he walked off the mound as a hero, he was already in the middle of a crime. 60,000 fans screaming his name, the best closer in baseball. And not one of them knew. Because while they were celebrating, federal investigators were quietly watching. Suspicious bets, unusual patterns, money moving at exactly the right moments. 2 years of it, run from inside a major league dugout. This is the story of Emmanuel Clase and how the FBI caught every single pitch. May 2023. The Cleveland Guardians are playing well, and Emmanuel Clase is their closer. He was 25 years old, a 3-time All-Star in the making, earning millions, the best in the game at what he did. Someone approached him. We don't know his name. The federal indictment keeps him unnamed. What we know is he was from the Dominican Republic, the same country Clase called home. The proposition was simple: throw specific pitches, a ball on the first pitch of a specific at-bat, under a certain speed. Tell us in advance. We'll bet on it, and you'll get a cut. Clase said yes. He grew up in Rio San Juan, a small town on the northern coast of the Dominican Republic, the kind of place where baseball isn't just a sport, it's the only way out. It got him out, and somehow, that wasn't enough. May 19th, 2023, Cleveland versus the New York Mets. Clase takes the mound in relief, the crowd cheers, and somewhere, a bet is placed that Clase's next pitch will be faster than 94.95 miles per hour. The pitch is thrown. The bettors win $27,000. Clase walks off the mound, the crowd roars. Another save for La Cabra. They called him La Cabra, the goat. The fans in Cleveland loved him. He was quiet off the field, private, a family man, someone who talked about his mother and his hometown like they were still the most important things in his world. Nobody in that stadium had any idea that first bet was not a mistake. It was not a moment of weakness. It was the beginning of a business. June 3rd, 2023. Cleveland versus the Minnesota Twins. A new bet is placed that Clase's next pitch will be slower than 94.95 miles per hour, and called a ball. The bettors win $38,000. June 7th, 2023. Cleveland versus the Boston Red Sox. The bettors win $68,000. $133,000 in 3 games from 3 pitches. 3 pitches that Clase had already decided to throw before he even stepped on the mound. While the Guardians' coaching staff was giving signs, while the catcher was calling the game, while the umpire was watching, Clase already knew what was coming, because he had told someone else first. And then he walked off the mound, every time, as a hero. The scheme worked because nobody was looking for it. Proposition bets on individual pitches were new. The sportsbooks didn't have systems to flag them yet. The league wasn't monitoring them, and Clase was the best closer in baseball. Nobody questions the best closer in baseball. He had signed a 5-year, $22 million extension with Cleveland in April 2022. He was 23 years old. The kid from Rio San Juan who signed with the Padres for $125,000 had made it. All the way. And still, he said yes. For almost 2 years, the scheme ran in silence. No arrests, no investigations, no suspicion. Because in 2024, Emmanuel Clase was having one of the greatest seasons a closer has ever had. 47 saves, an ERA of 0.61, the second lowest ERA ever recorded by a pitcher with at least 70 innings in a single season, in all of baseball history. He won the Mariano Rivera Award for the 2nd time, the award named after the man he had idolized, the man he had looked up when scouts first compared them, because he had never heard of him. While 60,000 fans screamed his name, while analysts called him a Hall of Fame talent. While Cleveland built their entire late-game strategy around him, the scheme was still running. Because the bettors had found something that worked, and they were not going to stop. On August 30th, 2024, Clase recorded his 150th save for Cleveland. He passed Cody Allen to become the franchise's all-time saves leader. The stadium stood. They chanted La Cabra. And somewhere, the men he was working with were already planning the next bet. By April 2025, something had changed. The arrangement had evolved. Clase was no longer just sharing information, he was requesting direct cash payments. Before the pitch was even thrown, bribes. The man earning $4.5 million a season was asking for $5,000 a pitch. April 25th, 2025. A man traveled to Ohio. He visited Clase at his home. Clase gave him tickets to the next game. This was not some shadowy backroom arrangement. This was a man sitting in the stands, watching the pitcher he had a deal with, waiting for the pitch they had already agreed on. April 26th. The game begins. The bettor is in the stands with the bet already placed. Clase walks in from the bullpen. The crowd stands, and the pitch is thrown. The bettors win $15,000. The next day, Clase sent a text message for repairs at the country house, the Dominican Republic, where he was born, where his family still lived, where a $125,000 signing bonus had once felt like the entire world. He was sending his bribe money home. But the scheme was about to get even more brazen. May 17th, 2025. A live Major League Baseball game. 60,000 people watching. Cameras on every angle. Umpires on the field. Clase used his phone, in the middle of the game, to coordinate with a bettor on a pitch he was about to throw. Not before the game, not in the dugout between innings, during the game. By June 2025, Clase wasn't working alone anymore. Luis Leandro Ortiz, a fellow Guardians pitcher, a fellow Dominican. Ortiz was earning $782,000 that season, less than a fifth of what Clase made. A young pitcher trying to establish himself in the major leagues, and Clase pulled him into it anyway. The arrangement was the same. Ortiz would throw the first pitch of a specific inning for a ball, under a certain speed, prearranged, prepaid. June 15th, 2025. Cleveland versus the Seattle Mariners. Ortiz's first pitch of the second inning, prearranged to be a ball. Clase was paid $5,000 for setting it up. Ortiz was paid $5,000 for throwing it. But something was different this time. A sportsbook operator noticed unusual betting interest on first pitches by Ortiz in two specific June games. The bets were too specific, too consistent. The operator flagged it, and the flag reached Major League Baseball. The scheme that had run for 2 years in silence had just been noticed. Major League Baseball contacted federal law enforcement. The FBI opened an investigation, and for the first time, someone was looking. July 28th, 2025. Emmanuel Clase did not take the mound. The Cleveland Guardians placed him on non-disciplinary paid leave. No explanation, just leave. Luis Ortiz the same day. For a team built around Clase's arm, the absence was immediate. He had appeared in 48 relief games that season before the leave, 24 saves, a 3.23 ERA. Not his best, but he was still Clase. Still the man Cleveland relied on when the game was on the line. And then he was just gone. Even his home country shut the door. LIDOM, the Dominican Professional Baseball League, banned him from playing in the winter season. While the investigation was active. For 3 months, silence, speculation, waiting. November 9th, 2025. The United States Department of Justice filed a 23-page indictment against Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz. 4 counts, each carrying up to 20 years. Total potential sentence, 65 years. He was 27 years old. He had been in the major leagues for 6 years. He was the all-time saves leader in Cleveland Guardians history, and he was now a federal defendant facing 65 years in a U.S. federal prison. November 13th, 2025. A plane lands at John F. Kennedy Airport, arriving from the Dominican Republic. Emmanuel Clase steps off where FBI agents are waiting, placing him in federal custody at the terminal. Before he left the building, hours later, he stood in a Brooklyn federal courtroom, the same courthouse that had indicted Terry Rozier 3 weeks earlier. The same prosecutors, the same Eastern District of New York office that was building cases across multiple sports simultaneously. The judge looked at his contract. 5 years, $22 million. $4.5 million in 2025 alone. The judge said, Mr. Clase has ample means to finance flight. $600,000 bond, passport surrendered, GPS monitoring, travel restricted to New York and Ohio. Clase looked at the court and said 2 words, not guilty. The Clase indictment did not happen in isolation. 2.5 weeks before, the same federal prosecutors in Brooklyn had indicted NBA player Terry Rozier and 2 coaches for alleged roles in a mob-backed gambling scheme. 2 months after Clase, 26 people were indicted for rigging college basketball games. The FBI described it as the most sweeping college basketball scandal since 1951. 3 major sports, 3 federal indictments, 6 months, 1 courthouse, 1 pattern. In every single case, the unnamed bettors are from the Dominican Republic. Sports betting was legalized across the United States in 2018. By 2025, Americans were wagering over $100 billion a year. Proposition bets, bets on individual plays, pitches, free throws, were a new and largely unmonitored frontier. And someone found the athletes willing to make them less random. The FBI is not finished. The question investigators are asking is not whether this happened. It's how many more names are on the list. Emmanuel Clase had everything, and he threw it all away, pitch by pitch, for $5,000 at a time. So why? The indictment doesn't answer that. His lawyers have not answered that. Emmanuel Clase has not answered that. Maybe he was pressured. Maybe the men who approached him weren't the kind of men you say no to. Maybe old loyalties from home don't disappear when you make it to the majors. We don't know. What we know is the numbers. 182 career saves, a 1.88 career ERA, 3 All-Star selections, 2 Reliever of the Year awards, the all-time saves record for the Cleveland Guardians, and 4 federal charges. 65 years of potential prison time. A career that is almost certainly over. Every sport has an official record. Wins, losses, statistics, championships. But there's another record, the one nobody keeps. Missing athletes, unsolved murders, deaths that never added up. Stories the sports world moved on from. We don't. If this is the kind of story you came here for, there are more where this came from. Subscribe to Unsolved Sports Edition. We'll be here, digging.